Hi, dear students. Very good morning. Welcome to the fifth part of Nationalism in India of class 10th history lesson. In our last class, we have completed till non-cooperation movement. Today, we are going to discuss and learn civil disobedience movement. In the beginning, we will understand the circumstances that led to the commencement of civil disobedience movement. Here we will understand the Great Depression of 1929 as well as the arrival of Simon Commission. After that, we will understand the commencement of civil disobedience movement with Salt Satyagraha and Gandhiji Irwin Pact of 1931, and at the last we will discuss how the participants of civil disobedience movement saw the movement. That means we will discuss the five important group of people. They are rich peasant community, poor peasantry, business class people, industrial workers and women. How these five groups saw the civil disobedience movement, or why did these five important groups participate in civil disobedience movement? Dear students, in our last session we understood that Gandhiji withdrew the non-cooperation movement in 1922 due to the Chauri Chaura event where 22 British policemen were burned alive by public. So when non-cooperation movement turned into violence, Gandhiji realized that the Indians have to be trained further to protest based on truth and non-violence. At the same time, leaders like C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru demanded to participate in provincial council elections to oppose British policy. Even C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru formed Swaraj Party and argued to return back to council politics. So earlier during non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji had asked to non-cooperate with council elections. But now C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru demanded to come back to council politics. The young leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose pressed for a more powerful and radical movement to get complete independence or Purna Swaraj. So in 1920s, two other major factors again shaped the Indian politics. They are the Great Depression of 1929 as well as the arrival of Simon Commission. So what I am trying to tell you that after 1922 or after the completion of non-cooperation movement, there was much demand from every side to start a more powerful and radical movement. And at the same time, the Great Depression as well as the arrival of Simon Commission happened. That also paved the way for the outbreak of civil disobedience movement. Now let us discuss the Great Economic Depression of 1929. As you know, a depression is a severe and prolonged downturn in economic activity. In economics, a depression is commonly defined as an extreme recession. Recession means reduction in economic activity that lasts 3 or more years or which leads to a decline in real gross domestic product or GDP. So economic depression is nothing but a complete breakdown in the cycle of production, consumption, supply and employment. So this happened in 1929. That affected the Indian economy as well as the people very worstly. Due to the economic depression, agricultural price fell from 1926 and collapsed after 1930. That means in these 4 years, 1926 to 1930, the price of the agricultural product in India fell very worstly, and it affected the economy and life of the Indian people. Secondly, the exports declined. So India had exports like khadi products or many other spices. So this also declined, and markets lost, and peasants failed to pay their revenue to the British government. So just understand that we are not discussing the Great Depression of 1929 in detail, but we are trying to say that the Great Depression of 1929 made the condition of the Indian people very worst to turn against British. Another important event that happened during this time was the arrival of Simon Commission. Remember, British appointed Simon Commission under Sir John Simon to look into the functioning of the constitutional system in India and to suggest changes. Understand why was Simon Commission appointed? Simon Commission was appointed by British to check the constitutional system of India and to suggest some changes in the existing system. But there was a problem. This Simon Commission did not consist even a single Indian member. That means all the members of the Simon Commission was from Britain. So Indian National Congress as well as Indian people thought that India is not going to get any favor from the Simon Commission. So when Simon Commission came to India in 1928, it was greeted with the slogan, "Go back Simon, go back Simon." That means Indians did not accept. So there was a political struggle starting in India due to this economic depression as well as the arrival of Simon Commission. To overcome this political struggle, Viceroy Lord Irwin announced dominion status for India in recent future as well as a round table conference to discuss future constitution. So British understood that something should be done to pacify the protest of India during this time. So just they threw two pieces of bread to the Indians. That was the offer of dominion status. That means India will have the status of an independent country in future. Dominion status. And also round table conference. We will provide a stage for Indians to discuss the problems of India related to freedom. So this round table conference will be held at Britain and Indians can come and participate. So we'll start discussion. So these were the two important steps taken by British to pacify or to comfort or to control the political struggle in India. But these offers did not satisfy the Congress leaders like Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose. In December 1929, Lahore Congress formalized the demand of Purna Swaraj or complete independence. So the leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose and many others told that we don't want this dominion status or round table conference. We need Purna Swaraj, means complete independence, freedom. And the Lahore session meeting of International Congress in December 1929 formalized the demand for Purna Swaraj. And this Congress session also declared that 26th January 1930, 26th January 1930 would be celebrated or observed as the Independence Day, while people would take a pledge to struggle for complete independence. So this was one of the mock Independence Day observation practiced by Congress in 26 January 1930. Just they said that we need complete independence or Purna Swaraj. Towards their journey on 26th January 1930, all India we would observe or celebrate as Independence Day. So remember that our constitution came to power 1950s January 26. Our Republic Day is in January 26. Actually, the date was selected to commemorate this event of 1930. Dear students, now let's understand the Salt Satyagraha as well as the civil disobedience movement. Gandhiji found salt as a powerful symbol to unite the nation. On 31st January 1930, Gandhiji sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin stating two demands. The main demand was the abolition of salt law. Actually, there was a salt law in India. Though it was an essential commodity and consumed by all, the British had made monopoly on salt production. That means only British government can produce salt. No Indians are allowed to produce salt. So Gandhiji decided to violate this law as a part of civil disobedience movement. Remember, civil disobedience movement means to disobey the British made laws, whatever it is. So Gandhiji decided to start that civil disobedience movement with violating this salt law. Gandhiji before that gave an ultimatum, a warning in his letter to Viceroy Irwin. If his demand is not fulfilled, Gandhiji would launch the civil disobedience movement on 11th March 1930. Lord Irwin was not ready to negotiate with Gandhiji or to accept the demands. So Gandhiji started civil disobedience movement with his famous Dandi March. Gandhiji marched over 240 miles from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi seashore of Gujarat along with 78 volunteers. Gandhiji delivered many speeches on Swaraj on the way that attracted number of men and women to civil disobedience movement. On 6th April 1930, Gandhiji reached Dandi and made salt by violating the British law, and this marked the beginning of civil disobedience movement. Civil disobedience movement was totally different from non-cooperation movement because civil disobedience movement asked not only to non-cooperate with the British but also to defy or to reject the colonial law. Thousands of people all around the country violated the salt law and demonstrated or prepared the salt in front of the government salt factories. As a part of civil disobedience movement, the foreign clothes were boycotted, liquor shops were picketed, tax was not paid, village officers resigned, and even the forest people violated the forest laws. Congress leaders were arrested, violent struggles occurred in many places, and many demonstrators were arrested, beaten, and even killed by British. Around 1 lakh people were arrested during the brutal suppression, and the peaceful satyagrahis, including women and children, were tortured by British. In this situation, Gandhiji decided to call off or to stop this civil disobedience movement, entering into a pact with Lord Irwin on 5th March 1931. So when Gandhiji understood the struggle is going again towards violence, Gandhiji compromised with Lord Irwin through Gandhi-Irwin Pact of March 5th, 1931. Now let's understand what are the resolutions of Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhiji decided to participate in a round table conference in London. So we are discussing the rules and regulations of Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhiji consented to participate in a round table conference in London. As per Gandhi-Irwin Pact, the British government agreed to release all the political prisoners arrested during the non-cooperation movement as well as civil disobedience movement. In 1931 December, Gandhiji went to London and attended the Round Table Conference but failed to negotiate with the British. During this time, leaders like Nehru, Khan Ghaffar Khan were arrested and imprisoned in India. Moreover, Congress had been declared illegal in India and meetings, boycotts, demonstrations were banned by British in India. So totally, British were cheating Gandhiji and Congress leaders, introducing this Gandhi-Irwin Pact just to control the civil disobedience movement in India. But when Gandhiji went to Britain to join the Round Table Conference, Britain suppressed the civil disobedience movement in India. So today we have discussed the civil disobedience movement. So whatever the doubts you have about any of the topics, please contact with me and clear those doubts. Thank you.